Okay, welcome. In this short video, I'm going to walk you through a property and point out the things you need to be looking at when you're going through a property, whether it's a short sale or an REO, or any other property you're just looking at in general, to give you a good idea of how to quickly estimate the repairs of a property with just walking through it in a few minutes without having to bring a contractor with you, and give you a good ballpark of what the repair estimates on the property are going to be.
Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you come up to a property is just do a visual inspection from the exterior. Does the property need a new roof, or how about siding or paint? And what's the overall condition of the lawn? Does it need lawnscaping, or does it just need a cleanup job? And then the concrete, sidewalks and steps can be very expensive, so you want to catch those if they need it. And then on the interior, the things that we want to be paying attention to are, does the property need paint on the inside? And I can tell you almost every single property is always going to need paint on the inside. And then as you're walking around, start counting the windows and doors. And when you have large windows like this one here, the trick that you can do is actually just count how many windows would actually fit into its place. So if you had a larger window, would two normal size windows fit in there? If that's the case, then just count it as two windows. And so that picture frame right there, you'd count that as 4 windows. And then here's 2 more windows, so now we're up to 6. And then we'll just start going through the rest of the property and count the windows as we go through the property and just keep adding it to our total count. And then we want to make a determination about the kitchen. Is the kitchen in great shape as it is, or do we need to gut it and replace the kitchen? And don't be thinking, can I just replace the the doors or the handles and the hinges? That's just a waste of time and a waste of money. If you determine that it needs any work at all, just factor in gutting it and replacing the whole thing. And then the next thing we're going to look at is in the bathroom. And so the bathrooms are the same thing, and that's a gut feeling. Most of the time you're going to want to replace the bathrooms as well. And when you walk through, you want to replace the whole bathroom. So just calculate, I'm going to replace this whole bathroom. So just mark it down, 1 bathroom. And don't, if you walk around and you say, okay, maybe I'll keep the cabinet or the vanity and the toilet, maybe that's all right to be kept, but maybe the bathtub is not. And as you can see, this bathtub is pretty old and worn down. This is a bathtub we'd want to replace. So in this case, we'd want to factor in just replacing the whole bathroom. And then we just start walking around the property and just keeping an eye on the general condition of everything. We want to start looking at the flooring. If it has hardwood floors, do we want to refinish the floors, or do we want to replace them with carpeting? Sometimes you can go ahead and just finish them off. Other times they're in such bad shape that they have to be carpeted over, or you're going to spend too much money. And then another miscellaneous item that I see a lot of people wasting a lot of time on is outlets. Light switches and outlets. I've seen people try to replace those or clean those up rather than replacing them. Those should all be replaced, but they're not even worth looking at other than to determine whether they have grounded outlets or not. Those would be something that are a miscellaneous category. Again, we're in the next bedroom, and we just want to start counting the number of windows again and keep an eye on the floor. There we have some dark spots on the floor. We might want to end up carpeting this thing. But the cost is going to be about the same for carpet and hardwood refinishing from our standpoint. And the next, as we go down the basement, we want to start looking at the major mechanicals. We want to find the electric panel box and determine the condition of the electrical in the property. Now this has an updated panel box, but it still fuses. It's not circuit breakers. So it has 100 amp. The meter is outside. It's not inside. The meter would have been right next to this panel. But because it's fuses, we're going to want to factor in replacing that. And then we want to start looking for signs of water pipes leaking in the ceilings. In the basement is a good place to look for them if the ceilings are finished or drop ceilings. You'll see those water stains in the ceilings and the walls. That's a good indication that there may have been a water problem at one time. And then as we go find the furnace room, that's where we'll generally find the hot water heater and the furnace in the same location. And you want to look at the condition of it and see if it's got copper piping, if it's got the gas lines, and see if the overall condition of the piping. And then we want to find the furnace and determine whether we need to replace the furnace or not. Now this furnace here happens to be a newer, an old version of the newer forced ventilation, so it's not vented out the chimney, it's actually vented out those pipes through forced air. So it is a newer furnace, but it's an older version of the newer one, so you may or may not have to replace the furnace. And then this one also has AC already hooked up. You can see the drain pipe and the lines for the AC. You can see right there is the drain pipe on this one. And then right up above is the condenser and the coil that goes out to the actual air conditioning unit outside. If you don't see this, then the property doesn't have air conditioning, or it has it and then the pipes have been torn out. Next major thing you want to look for is the water supply line, the shutoff valves, and then look at the pipe going into the ground and determine whether that is copper or lead. If it's copper and it's either 3/4 or 1 inch, it's probably been updated by the city already out to the main. If it's lead, it may not have been, and that may be a major expense from a plumbing standpoint. And we're moving around, and thing that's nice about drop ceilings is it actually gives you access to the joists and the pipes and the electrical, and you just take a peek in there and see how the overall condition is, everything. And then as we move into the laundry room, this is a good area to keep an eye on the copper piping and look up in the ceilings to make sure that the copper wasn't just run from the downspouts down to the utility. If there's lead up there in the ceilings, then you may want to have to replace all the copper. Again, we want to keep looking at the electrical and just the overall condition of the basement here. And then, as we move back upstairs, let's go to the second floor and see what the condition of the bedrooms are up there. Now, here we got more windows again, so now we just add another check mark. If we were just putting check marks for the number of windows that we had, we get one more window if we were going to replace them or not. And then now we're in the second floor, and you'll see something that's kind of unique here. See that wall there that's separating two different rooms, but the one actually is a bedroom and it's not finished. So that's something that we might need to take a look at and fix up. Okay, now we're going to go into that bedroom there so I can show you what I was talking about. Now here's an example of a door. We need an interior door to be replaced. You can see how bad a shape that is. It's all written, and look at the paint on the floor. So this hardwood flooring is pretty much, in my opinion, beyond repair, because the cost of getting that all cleaned up is not going to be worth it. I would just probably go ahead and put carpeting. But the cost overall is close enough from carpeting to hardwood floors for our purposes that it's not worth trying to determine the cost difference between the two. And then make sure it's got smoke detectors. That's one thing on the second floor, is rental properties need to have smoke detectors. Actually, every property should have them, but by law, the rental properties have to have them. And then here again, just another example. This is where I see a lot of investors making the mistakes, is they'll take outlets and they'll take that cover right there and they'll just clean it up rather than replacing that in the switches. And we go back downstairs, and we've only been on the property for probably about 8 or 9 minutes, and we've gone through the entire interior. So we've determined everything we need to know now by using our checklist. And now we go to the garage, and we want to look at the condition of the garage. Does this need some work or not? And in this case, the garage needs a new garage door. It needs some stucco work outside. So you might need to factor in another $1,000 or $2,000 for the garage.